This is part one to a 6-part series of a solar installation, and in this video I'm going to focus solely on the construction of a solar wall. And for everyone that's been following along with my channel for any amount of time, you know that I have a 10 kilowatt in-phase system on top of my shop here, and I've been thinking about changing it. I officially want to announce that I will be changing it, and I will not be using in-phase for my next system. I'm going to be using Hoymiles microinverters and all the accessories that they have, and I'm going to be switching from my S Energy panels to the APTOS solar panels. I think that's the way you say it, APTOS. And I'm going to be using a larger panel, 440 watts, because with the in-phase, you can use that, but you get a lot of clipping, and I'm trying to avoid that with these type of microinverters, which I'll talk about in part 2 of this series. This is part 1, but this is a 1,000-watt microinverter that can input 500 from this side and 500 from this side. I'll have links to all of this stuff in the description below, so if you want to check those out, you can do that. But this video is solely structured around building the solar wall that's going to house this new solar system. And now that we have that out of the way, I'm going to take you through the process of how I built this wall step by step. Let's get started. And I've ordered in 26 tons of gravel. This is 3/4 or 1/2 inch to 3/4 size. We're going to be putting a 6-inch base all the way down every bit of this, and probably a lot more in this area here. But we want to make sure that we have enough gravel for this job, because I'm going to lay the fabric, I'll put in the gravel, then I'll put a geogrid down, we'll tie everything up. This is going to be really structurally sound, because every 15 foot, like we're going to start here, we'll have a pillar, and then a pillar full of concrete, and then 2 in the middle of those. So we'll have 4 pillars of concrete every 15 foot all the way down this retaining wall. And we're going to be using the EG4 racking system that we got here, but there'll be 4 panels on each one of those. This is going to be plenty stable for doing 4 panels at a time, because we're having actually more concrete per panel this way than what we would if we put a system out there. And from the top of my conduit to this section here, we got right at 29 to 30 inches. And then there's going to be another 3.5 inch cap that goes on top of the wall. So that's going to put our conduit around 32 33 to 34 inches in the ground. So we're meeting the requirement of 24 inches at the top of the conduit that goes in the ground. So anytime you're doing a project like this, make sure that you're measuring the top of the conduit to where the ground level is going to be. For us, it's going to be a cap level, so it's going to be that far underground. So we're going like I said, 33 to 34 inches, and it's going to actually get deeper as we go down. By the time we get down there, we're probably going to be around 38 to 40 inches, because we have a slope that we got to kind of build to, and everything drains that way, so it just makes the conduit deeper as the way I dug this. And now that we got all the conduit that's in the trenches covered, and we got all of our conduit laid, it's time to put down this fabric. And now that I have that squared away, I'm going to start putting my gravel in for my gravel base. We're going to do at least 6 inches of gravel, but like in here, we'll probably have anywhere from 10 to 12 inches. And the way that I'm going to set my grade is by using this transit. So we have a signal that's being sent out to a receiver, and once we get to the height that we want, we'll get a beep. So we know that we still need about 4 inches or 5 inches of gravel right there. And the way I've got this set up is over on my building, I got to mark where I want the top of the wall to be. Now that doesn't account for the 3.5 inch cap that we're going to be putting on this. So it'll actually be 3.5 inches taller than what that is. So I've got this set for 4 blocks at 6 inches thick to where I want it. Yep. Yeah, we're within range to do our compacting. It's still good. Now, I'm not sure if you guys understand, when you're doing such a long run like this is over 125 feet, that you gotta get a lot of this stuff right, especially when you're putting solar up on it, because you're gonna look really weird if you don't. All right, still got the beep. Okay, got one there. Up there it is. Oh, dead on it. Okay, so we are ready to start compacting. I'm going to focus on this first, and then we'll do that side of the wall a little later, because there's going to be a pillar here that's going to run up to another pillar. So these are actually separate walls to this one. There's going to be an opening right here, so we can come through straight from the house out into the garage. And the first pillar for that wall will actually start right here. And now that I got that compacted, I think I'm gonna go grab some block and try to find out my starting points and just kind of get an idea where I'm at. Probably not gonna lay many block today, but I wanna see if we need to get finer sand, or if I can go ahead and use that base to start with. I think I'm good with that base, but if I can't get them 100% level, which is a problem, I need it to be level completely down that wall. So I'm just gonna go grab some, mess around with that, and I'll check back in with you. This is what I've decided to do with the corner. I've pulled my strings, as you can see it going down through here, from right here all the way down, and we got it barely touching the block here, and everything is square and level in every direction. So we got square here, right there. We're level this way, and even diagonal. So we always want to maintain level at every direction, and we need to maintain that from here all the way to the end of the wall. And it worked out almost perfectly, because we barely have enough room for the conduit to come up when we stack on top of one another. So that worked out great without having to cut the block. Now I haven't filled these up yet, because either it will start right here, the concrete will flow into these two, or I may even have to concrete this and this block here. But because I'm going to be using the EG4 mounts that I mentioned earlier. See that leg right there? We'll have one of those legs right in here somewhere, and I want that to be concrete, complete concrete all the way up 4 blocks, and then we'll bolt those 10-inch bolts or wedge anchors in, and that solar panel is not going anywhere because we're going to have one here, one there, and one here. Every 15 feet we'll have 4 pillars of concrete. Now that I got the first row of block down, I'm going to put down my piping. And this is my drain pipe. This is a 4-inch corrugated pipe that's perforated, and I'm going to run it for the entire length of the wall and discharge it at the end. And this is the geogrid that we'll put down probably on the 2nd row. I might do it on the 3rd row. I thought putting 2 pipes down would be best here. 1 single pipe down through here is completely fine. And now I'm going to lay down my 2nd row of fabric that goes on top of this. I put a fabric under the bottom of the gravel, and then I'm going to put a fabric on top of this. I've ordered another 26 tons of gravel, but this time I ordered a smaller gravel like this. I just think it's going to be easier to manage, and I probably should have done that from the very beginning. If I had to do it over, I would. This is what I would go with for every bit of it, just because it would be easier to manage than it is over the larger 3/4 gravel. Although the 3/4 gravel will give you better drainage, it's just not as easy as to manage as that little gravel will be with my little tractor. And it's best to make these changes right now rather than later, just for 2 extra panels, because man, it would be a lot of work after you get this finished and everything backfilled, caps put on, everything concreted. It just wouldn't be something you'd want to do. And that didn't take long at all. So that's kind of what I'm going to do at the end here. This way I have 2 more panels right here, and I got all my 30. I'm happy with that. I'm glad I figured it out right now rather than later. That would have been a big boo-boo if that would have been something I had to fix later. everywhere that I've put a yellow X, I'm going to be concreting the pillars in. So that's roughly around 4 to 5 foot for every one of these. And on each of the corners, I'm going to do all the blocks on a corner. So I've marked both of those, and then both of those for the steps where that corner is. And then on the main corner down there, and the main corner on the other end. And what I'm going to be doing with the rebar is putting it down in each one of these, but I got to go back and cut this out so I can allow that concrete to go down into those cavities. I've ordered another 26 tons of gravel. So we have a total of about 104 tons that we put in over here. But I'm about to backfill this, get it all kind of set where I need it for later. It's gonna have completely level. I've got all the rebar drove into the blocks that's gonna be filled up with concrete. So in the next probably couple days, we're gonna be getting a lot of rain for the next 3 or 4 days. So once that's finished, I'm going to start concreting the pillars. I've been delayed for about 2 weeks of pouring my concrete pillars, but finally I want to get around to doing that tomorrow. The weather is supposed to be good. It's supposed to be cooler tomorrow, actually, in the 60-degree range, so it's going to be perfect for pouring concrete. And I'm fortunate enough to have the mud mixer on hand to help me out with this project. I will have a full review on this, and if you're interested in seeing that, I'll leave it up here in the cards and a link in the description below, because this is a tool that I think a lot of DIYers might be interested in. And when you work it down in those corners like that, I'm not sure if you can see it down in there, but that concrete works into the block below it, and it ties all this together. And now that I got the wall complete, it did take me about 5 months of work to get that completed. And at the end, I brought in a crew to lay down the concrete because that's just something I couldn't do by myself. But everything else was a one-man job. And I tried to show you that throughout the process where I did everything on that wall by myself. So this is something that you can do. Now let's talk about what the next video will be in this series. This is video 1 of a 6-part series of me removing the solar system off the top of the building there, and we're going to be putting it down on this solar wall. So the reason I'm doing that is because I'm changing from in-phase to Hoymiles microinverters, and I want to use those larger output microinverters from Hoymiles. I'm going to be using the dual microinverters that allows me to hook up 500 watts per panel. So on that dual microinverter, it can output of 1,000 watts, and each panel at 500 watts. So there's a big increase of output on those microinverters if they turn out to be correctly. And that's what this series is all about, is changing from in-phase to Hoymiles. And I'm someone that just needs to test it and see it for myself, or have someone actually already completed this. It would make this decision a lot easier, but no one that I've seen yet has completed this process of changing from in-phase to Hoymiles. And I'm not doing it just to be the first. I'm doing it because I do believe that it could be a better microinverter, and there's not a lot of people talking about these microinverters, and I want to put some information out about them. And I just think I'm going to get a lot more output on these 440 watt panels than I would if I was using the in-phase, which max out around 386 watts of power on their largest microinverter, where Hoymiles max out at 500 watts per panel. So I can use a 550, maybe 600 watt panel on those, where I can't do that on in-phase. You can, but I'm telling you guys, you're going to have clipping. I have clipping on these, and they're 370 watts on IQ7 pluses. And I've kind of gotten tired of that, and I want to see if there's a better option out there, and I want to share it with everybody. So if you want to follow along with this process, be sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell, because when I put out new videos on this, you'll get notified if you turn those notifications on. Now, this won't be my next video, but I should have another video out on this in about a month, and the permitting process takes a little bit of time. So I want to cover in my next video the actual components that I'm going to be using, and how I'm going to go about doing the permitting on this, because this is a custom build, and this is not going to be something that's available on all permitting packages on a wall like this. This is not something that you see every day. So we got to figure out, how do I design a permit package for this, and what type of components am I going to be using? And I do hope that you found this video helpful in some way, and if you did, be sure to smash the thumbs up button, because it really does help me out. I do hope to catch you in the next part of this series or any of my future videos. I'll catch you in the next one.